Hello, this is Sophie Lawson from Sophie Lawson. No, it's not. This is Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man from spiderman.com. And this is episode 134 of the Sophie Art Podcast, which is a little podcast that I do about the art and things. And because this is the last week of October, I can't talk properly in here. I'm Spider-Man today. But because it's the last week of October, what it means is it's the About the Things episode. And today's episode is going to be all about face masks and freedom. It's Face Masks and Freedom Part 3. And the co-host Little Dennis is with us today. Super excited. I sort of wish I'd got him a little Spider-Man outfit. It would have been quite fun, I think. But if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube at youtube.com/Sophie Lawson, you can see little Spider-Man, and you'll also be able to see a new little puppet. We've got a new little friend for the podcast, but he hasn't got a name. So at the moment, he's a little mole. It's a mole. It's a mole, a big black mole. He's really cool, but he hasn't got a name. So what I'm going to do is, on episode 140 of the podcast, I'm going to give away this book, which is a book called How to Keep a Sketch Journal. It's really cool, and I'll put a link in the description and stuff at spiderman.com. No, sophielawson.com. I'll put a link to a video so you can watch a video of this book. Really cool book. But I've actually got 2 copies of it. So what I'm going to do is, if you can name this little mole, give this little mole a name. And I'll pick a winner on episode 140. And if nobody enters, what I'll do is I'll give this book away to somebody outside of an art shop. I'll go in town and give it away. And I'll have to think of a name for the little mole. But, well, he's a cool little mole, and he's massive. My mum bought him for me, and he's probably twice the size of little Dennis, I think. He's really cool. So you can see him on I'll put it in my bowler, put it on my little bottle. That's quite cool, I think. Yeah, so a little mole, so he needs a name. But little Dennis, he can't wait for this one. I've been looking forward to this one for ages. Oh, little Kitty. Little Kitty, she's still pregnant. They've had their little kisses, and she's still got titties. So has Spider-Man, look. Spider-Man's got titties as well. So it's a spider transgender. A transgender Spider-Man, I think. But, doing. So let's get into this one. Little Dennis and Kitty are in their little house, sitting comfortably. So what I've done is, I've got a load of notes on these sheets of paper because I can't quite see properly. I can't see properly or talk properly. But so this is episode 134, and it's called Face Masks and Freedom Part 3. It's going to be really cool, this. So I'll put links to parts 1 and 2. I'll put links to parts 1 and 2 in the show notes and stuff. So in the first part, I was talking about how I feel like, because in the UK we've sort of been forced into wearing face masks, and I don't agree with it. I do not agree with that in the workplace. I don't agree with that anywhere really, and I think it's an attack on our freedom. So that was what I talked about in the first part. The second part, I talked about how I was sticking up for my freedom, I suppose, and I was talking about the thing between courage and fear, because what I've noticed is you've got fear and courage, and if the fear gets too high, it cancels out your courage. So what you got to do is you got to focus on your courage instead of focusing on the fear, and this goes for anything. Instead of focusing on the fear of like what might happen or something, you focus on the courage. And what you've got to do is you've got to basically get the courage higher than the fear. So that's what I talked about in the second one. And but this one is going to be a little bit different because it's still, I'm still aware of that. But what's happened is, well, what happened was they changed the rules basically, and they made it so that what they did was they said everyone in the shop, so even the people working in the shop had to wear face masks, and they also made it, I think they made it a law, so it's actually official, whereas before I don't think it was. Yeah, so all of a sudden I got a bit scared, because I got to this place where I was really comfortable. I could walk into any shop without a face mask, and I felt completely, my courage was very high. And then overnight, they changed the rules, and what happened was, all of a sudden the fear went so high, and I was struggling to get my courage back a bit. What have I put here? Yeah, I put it here on my notes. I said, they changed the rules, and I said they. Who is they? It's like, this is the thing. I feel like, this is going to sound a bit weird, but when you do a little bit of digging into this sort of thing, you find out that, well, you start thinking, are the people, it definitely feels like there is some sort of energy, or almost, I would say, a group of entities who are controlling the earth. So you start wondering, are they actually aliens? Like, are they some sort of alien that is shapeshifted into a human, so it looks like a human? So when I start saying they changed the rules, you sort of, well, who is it? But I put here, they changed the rules, and then I put here, I said fear stops action. So fear stops action, courage creates action. Yeah, I like that. So you can actually do that with anything as well. Like with art, if you're doing a drawing and you've got fear because you think, oh, I might not be able to do this, the fear would actually stop you drawing. But if you've got the courage and you say, especially in a sketchbook, like in a sketchbook, it's much easier to just go for it. And what that does is, it means that you actually go for it. Yeah, whereas the fear would stop you. So I really like that, because what I noticed was, a lot of little things, when they changed the rules, all of a sudden I felt like I couldn't. So for about 3 weeks I had to take a breather. I had to step back a bit and sort of regroup myself, I suppose, get myself back, try to work on my courage again. And I did it in little baby steps again. I think I'll talk about it later in here. But yeah, I noticed that it's like the fear, which is always a what if. What if I do this and something bad happens? Or it's always thinking about the worst thing. That will stop you doing something. Whereas if you've got the courage and you say, whatever happens, I'll just do it. And the way you do that is you focus on why you're doing it. So for me, it's like freedom. I want to stand up for my freedom. Yeah. So if instead of focusing on what something bad might happen, you focus on why you're doing it, that will give you the courage. And when you've got the courage, you'll overcome the fear. But it's very hard though, because the fear, it feels so real. It does. It feels so real. And it can get very powerful as well. And you only have to think about it for a little bit. And what happens is, it builds. Yeah, it's almost like I've started really becoming aware of what they talk about. So people like Muji, spiritual masters, they say like what you focus on grows. Yeah, so if you're focusing on the fear is going to grow. So what you've got to do is you've got to become aware that you're focusing on the fear, and instead focus on, well, something positive, I suppose. What have I put here? I've put anxiety, and then I've put a thing coming off that says, so basically what I feel like is at the moment, at least for me, no matter what I do, I am in some form of anxiety, which is a negative emotion. So again, it goes back to, well, I was going to say it goes back to why they're doing it. They're doing it to create negative energy. So at the moment, I feel like anxiety, if you wear the mask, I've got anxiety because I'm resenting. Yeah, I've got resentment because I don't want to be wearing it. So that's creating an anxiety of, I'm not doing what I know I should be doing, which is standing up for my freedoms. Whereas if I don't wear the mask, especially now, because there's even more people wearing masks, you've got the anxiety of self-consciousness. So you've either got a resentment anxiety, because you know you're doing the wrong thing, but you feel helpless. Or you've got this self-conscious anxiety, because you feel like everyone's looking at you, judging you. And you're also a little bit on edge, because you think, what if somebody's going to say something or something? So I just feel like at the moment there's a lot of anxiety in my life. And this goes into something else I was going to talk about later, which is I do wonder whether, because I've started playing video games for the last week, I do wonder whether that's a little bit for me trying to escape from facing these feelings, because it's not very nice really. And it has affected my mindset a little bit, but I'm starting to get back. I'll talk about it in a minute. So what have I put here? I've put a fear of what if. Yeah, but then I've put, if you find it makes life harder. And then I've got an idea for Spider-Man. This is where the idea for Spider-Man come, because what they did was they said if you go out without a face mask on, you're going to get fined £200 or something. So I started thinking, well, hang on a minute, you're standing up for freedom, but you might get fined £200, and how is that going to help anything? It's not. All that's going to do is make your life harder. So then I started thinking, well, you've got to find a way to stand up for your freedom, but be inside the system. So you've got to sort of play the game, but still be following your heart. So I thought, right, what I'll do is I'll dress up as Spider-Man, because I'm still wearing a face mask, which is quite funny. Yeah, I thought there's a way to do this where you can have fun with it. You can have fun. You're sort of playing with it, and you're almost taking the mick out of it. But the other thing with that is, then I needed courage to go out dressed as Spider-Man. But I've got this other idea. I'm definitely going to do this. I'm going to do this, but I can't quite do it yet. But I'm going to find a way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out as Spider-Man with my camera or something, and I'm going to interview people in the park and stuff like that. And I'm going to say, what do you think about wearing face masks? Because I'm really interested what the percentage is of people who don't agree with it. And what I've noticed is, I'll talk about this in a minute as well, I've noticed so many people, I'll talk to them, especially, it's even people who are really, I thought were really standing up for face masks. And I say to them, because I've been saying, look, I think this is actually, I don't think there is a virus. I think they're basically attacking our freedom, trying to turn us into sort of like slaves, I suppose. The amount of people, because what I say is, there's something fishy going on here. Yeah, and the amount of people who have said, yeah, I've thought that myself. Even the people who are really adamant about wearing these face masks and stuff, like at work, it's amazing how many of them have said, yeah, I've thought that myself. So I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but I'll put it here. There's a subtle difference between fear and love. But the thing is, because I look at courage as like a positive, like love, and fear is like the negative. But the thing is, it's really hard sometimes to know which one, because you can feel your way through life. But the thing is, both of these things are pulling your attention. So you've got like love, positive things, and you've got negative things. But the thing is, sometimes, yeah, I've noticed sometimes the positive, it's always like the positive has to tell the truth. It can't lie. The negative can lie, so the negative can pretend to be positive. So sometimes you get tricked into doing things, which is, yeah, you got to be really, you've got to sit with your thoughts basically, or sit with the thoughts and the feelings, and then just sit with them. And in the end, you will just know what's the right thing to do. So that's what I had to do. I had to take about 2 or 3 weeks of just avoiding a lot of things, like going into food shopping and stuff, just to sort of work out what, because I was thinking maybe I do have to wear the face mask and stuff. Yeah, but in the end I found out the answer, which is just don't wear if you don't want to, don't do it. But there's a little technique I'm going to talk about in a minute. It's really cool. What have I put here? Yeah, play the game. The system has to be taken down from within. Exactly. You can't do it from outside. In other words, if you don't wear the face mask and stuff, it's obvious at some point, probably in a month or two, they're going to up the ante. So it's going to be even more rules and even more consequences and stuff. It's just inevitable, I think. It's what I said in one of the other episodes. I said, I think we're at a point now where conflict is inevitable, and I don't think anyone really likes conflict. So what you've got to do is you've got to be ready for it, I suppose. But you've got to stay inside the system, because if you get pushed out of the system by not playing the game or not adhering to the rules, what will happen then is you won't be able to affect the system. So everything inside the system, which will be everyone else wearing the face masks, they're just going to get carried along with it. So you've got to somehow stay inside the system. Yeah, you've got to stay inside the system without affecting your beliefs or something, without going against what you know is the right thing. So it's quite hard. It's like I said, it's subtle things. So what I've put is I've made a little thing when I go out as Spider-Man, because I was going to go food shopping as Spider-Man, and I was going to wear a little note on my back, and it's going to say, "It's all a lie. Use your spidey senses and wake up." Wake up. Yeah. Because I think that's what it's all about. It's all about Well, the thing is, like I said before, I think most of us know this isn't right. But the thing is, it's the fear thing. The fear is stopping us. I must admit, I am very impressed by the way this whole thing has been put together. Because you can see it's been put together over so many years, and it's all been thought through. You almost start wondering whether the people up there, which I do think could be like aliens or something, shapeshifters, I feel like they've got some sort of time, some ability to either manipulate time or see all possible sort of scenarios. So what they can do is they can do something, and they can work out, simulate basically. They could even just have a super powerful computer, like a quantum computer, and they can simulate what happens. So they say, right, if we put this pretend virus out, and then say they've got to wear a face mask, they can run the simulation, and they can see the probability of it working. So I feel like that's what's going on. So what's got to happen is, but then I think there are other entities, positive entities, who are trying to communicate with us to stop it from happening. Yeah. So I feel like you've got some, well, I want to say negative entity, which are, you would look at them as like gods, and then positive ones which are like gods. They're aliens basically, something like that. And what they're doing is they're both trying to steer humanity. One is trying to steer it into a negative, one to a positive, which again, it splits off into 2 Earths. I think we're going to end up with 2 Earths. And at the moment, I feel like we are maybe on some sort of transitioning Earth, some sort of Earth that is in between the positive and negative. And whatever we do as humans, collectively, but individually, it's going to determine where the Earth goes, and all the humans. What have I put here? I've put Spidey. Spider-Man he's friendly. He's a friendly neighbourhood Spidey. He's fun. He's positive. And I feel like that's the way to overcome it, is to be, no matter what happens, no matter what happens, and it is easier said than done, you got to remember to be positive and fun and friendly. Yeah. Well, I thought, oh, I like this bit, because what happened was, when they changed the rules, I thought, oh no, I can't. Well, yeah, I thought I can't go into a shop and stuff. What's this bit here? Yeah, I thought I can't go into a shop and stuff. But then I thought, well, hang on a minute. If I was a knight going out to fight a dragon, you wouldn't go fight a dragon in your boxer shorts. You would make sure you're wearing a suit of armour, you got a big weapon, and you'd prepare yourself. Yeah, prepare yourself for battle. So I thought to myself, well, what they've done is they've changed the rules, and they've effectively left me in my boxer shorts, on my little panties. Yeah, and I thought, well, what I've got to do is I've got to step back a bit and get me suit of armour on, get ready for battle. So my suit of armour is Spider-Man. That's what I think. I'll put here, I had to regroup. Yeah, you got to regroup. What have I put here? Beliefs equal reality. This is a brilliant one here. Beliefs equal reality. I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere. But what I noticed was, whatever you believe, it becomes real. Yeah, so if you believe you don't have to wear face masks, you don't have to wear face masks. If you believe you do, you will end up having to do that. But there's another thing here in a minute, all about the mind. It goes into something else. What have I put here? Staff at work were moaning. Yeah, they started moaning about people coming in without face masks. Because even though these rules changed, there's still probably, I would say, I feel like before the rules changed, which was about a month ago, I feel like it's about 50% of people were not wearing face masks. Now I think it's about 20 or 30, so it has gone down quite a lot. Yeah, but so what happened was the people at work, like the staff, I noticed they started moaning about people not wearing face masks, and they even started confronting people. They said, oh, why aren't you wearing a face mask? But what I have noticed is most people won't do that. It's almost, I think they're told not to do that because they don't want to create a fight or something. So I think they've been told not to do that, but they couldn't help themselves. So what's happened is, I realised the system is doing the work for them, whoever them is. These like alien things, the things that have created the system, the things that have created this control, trying to take away our freedom with the face masks, which they've been lying. They've been putting out all these lies on the news, but everyone is getting brainwashed by the news. And what happens is, the people inside the system, just everyday regular people like us, if you believe what you're hearing on the news, and you will do because you keep hearing it, even though it might not be true, if you keep hearing it, you're going to believe it like a habit. That's how you build a habit. You just keep repeating. It's like Lee Hammond said, repetition is the key to learning. So if they keep repeating the same thing, saying you got to wear these face masks because there's a virus, in the end, even if it's not true, you're going to believe it. So what happens is, the people who are setting it up, they don't even have to do anything, because the people inside the system, because they believe it so much, they actually end up doing the work for them. It's ingenious, really. It's very clever. It's all brainwashing. That's what I think. It's all brainwashing. But then I have thought, well, maybe I've also been brainwashed by these. Let's just say there is a group of positive aliens. They could be brainwashing me, saying there isn't a virus. There might be a virus, but I'm being brainwashed to believe there isn't. So this is why you've just got to go with the feeling. I'll put here, where am I now? So I think I took about 3 weeks off, where I couldn't go into shops and stuff. I was too scared, really. And then what I did was I said, look, I Cause what I know, I thought to myself, if I don't go shopping and stuff, I'm basically stopping myself from doing what I want to do, and which is another form of fear. It's like an avoidance. It's that thing they call about avoidance. So where I am now is I've been into the market. I've got some fruit in the market, so I could go to the market without a face mask on. I went into a shoe shop because the shoes I bought last week, they were actually very uncomfortable. So I went into a shoe shop and got a pair of shoes. I also went into the video game shop, getting some second-hand video games without my face masks on. And then finally, last week, I was able to go back into the food shop, which was a big one for me. I was really scared about that. So I'm starting to get my life back, I suppose. Yeah, because before it's not very nice when you feel like you can't do stuff. So what have I put here? Oh yeah, so at work, because I work in a food shop, I basically had to wear a mask, but I still haven't worn a mask, but I allow myself to wear a shield, even though it's the same thing. It's just my way. A shield doesn't feel as much of a shield. A shield feels a bit more like I've still got my freedom, I suppose. A face mask, it just feels like. It just feels that it's not. There's something wrong with it. There's something not right with it. But the reason I allow myself at work is because I said about this on one of the other episodes. Whatever the boss says, you sort of have to do it. And I'm not at the moment. At the moment, I'm not prepared to risk causing an upset at work. Yeah, not yet, but maybe in the future I will. So I've allowed myself to wear it at work, but again, this is one of those things where I have thought, is that a negative thing, pretending to be a positive? I don't think so. The other one was I had to go to the doctors to get a blood test for my hormones, and so I wore a scarf. I wore a scarf over my, like a sort of a face mask thing. But what I did was, what have I put here? Yeah. So I'm okay with wearing a shield at work, and I'm okay with wearing a scarf at the doctors, because in the doctors it makes sense, and at work it's like the boss. But I've put here shops, like going shopping or going outside. There's no reason for it. It's freedom. You should have the freedom to do what you want there. Whereas in the doctors, I think that's the sort of place that you would expect germs and stuff, so it makes sense. And again, at work, it makes sense to me. So, and I've really thought about this a lot, because I thought, do I actually have to create a conflict at work? But it didn't reach that for the moment, which is nice. Something really cool happened though. When I went into the doctors with that scarf on, I felt a connection. It was weird. So I sat in the waiting room with this scarf on, and what happened was I was looking around, and there's about 3 people wearing these face masks. When I went in to get my blood taken, the lady was wearing a face mask, and I just felt this proper connection with her, because I looked at her and I could sort of see that she didn't really want to be wearing that face mask, but she felt like she was forced into it, and I just felt, wow, we are all in this together, really. It was the first time, because before that, because I'm not wearing a face mask and most other people are, I've always felt detached. So even though I did a negative thing wearing a scarf, it allowed me to feel this positive thing of connection, which I thought was quite nice. I liked that, and I wasn't expecting that. It was quite surprising. So I've put here, one of the ways I was able to go into the food shop, I noticed that you can trick the mind. I talked about this on one of the other podcasts. The mind is it's full of negative lies, I think, most of it, all based off of conditioning for your life. So what you have to do is you have to create positive lies, which are like affirmations. Again, it's all about getting the energy where you want it. positive or negative. So the mind is going to naturally take it to negative, but things like affirmations, which are positive lies, they're actually going to take you to the positive. So what you can do is you can trick the mind. And it reminded me, back about 10 years ago, when I was hiding the fact that I was transgender, there's lots of shame and guilt and, well, super self-conscious. And again, what I'm going through now with these face masks, it's almost like a super advanced version of being transgender. Yeah, because I used to go shopping or something. I'd be in a shop and I'd want to buy, say, makeup, but I'd be Kevin. So I'd be Kevin wanting to buy makeup, and I couldn't do it. And then what I realised was, and this was years ago, I realised that if I went into the shop and I tricked my mind into thinking I was buying the makeup for my mum, and I could trick my mind so much that I believed it, I could actually go in and buy the makeup and there was not a problem. Because I was like, I believed I was buying it for my mum, even though I wasn't. Whereas if I went in and say I'm buying this for myself, I wouldn't be able to buy it because I'd feel like everyone was looking at me. But if I tricked myself and said I'm buying it for my mum, even if people looked at me, I was like, it doesn't matter, I'm buying it for my mum. So what I noticed was you could do this with everything. And I thought, right, if I go into a shop and if I go in there anxious about not wearing a face mask, people looking at me, I'm going to get really self-conscious and it's going to be too much and I can't do it. But if I go in there and I say to myself, what's that word? Exempt. Yeah, I tricked my mind into believing I'm exempt. So I can say to myself, I'm exempt. So if anyone looks at me, instead of being all scared of, oh, they're looking at me, what's going to happen? I'm just saying, I'm exempt. So I've tricked my mind into believing that I am exempt. So and I thought, this is amazing. This goes into that thing about beliefs creating reality. Whatever you believe is going to become real, and you have control over what you believe, unless you don't realise it. If you don't realise what's going on, then whatever you're consuming is going to influence your beliefs. This is why if you realise what's going on, you can start consuming and doing things like positive affirmations, which are going to help. So again, you're in complete control about where you go, even though because sometimes I feel like I'm not, but you are. It's just you've got to remember you are, and that's the hard thing. Remembering that you are in complete control when you're in the middle of this thing where you're feeling overwhelmed. What have I put here? Yeah, I've put the amount of times I say something's fishy to someone, and they say, I agree. Yeah, and I've put here, we know. We know, we feel it. And I thought that was a good way to end it. We know something fishy is going on. We feel it. Even if we don't want to admit it, I think all of us know, and it might not be, there might be a virus. There might be an actual virus. But if there is still something fishy going on here. It doesn't make sense. And I can talk about so many things. One of the main things is I know somebody who works in a doctor's surgery, and they said that, high up in the surgery as well, they said that they saw people who were dying, of things, and it was getting written down as the virus, even though it's not. So right there you know that something fishy's going on. And then also, you look at just the way this thing's going out, none of it makes sense. So it might be that there is a virus, but what's happened is somebody along the way has hijacked it to create some sort of result in the future. And it feels like a negative thing. It feels like a negative thing. They want to create something super negative in the future. and we are at a point where we have control. We are, if we don't do anything, it's just going to go to that negative place. But if we do something, we can steer it away. That's what I think. And little Dennis, I think he enjoyed that one. He was very quiet. He was, wasn't he? Doing. That's the end of that. Little Kitty. Oh, little Kitty. Wonder when she's gonna have a little babies. She's still pregnant in there. But all we've got left is this week's little inspirational quote. Remember to enter this competition if you want to win this book. It's a cool little book, and all you got to do is give a name to this little mole, little black mole or big mole. He's a big guy. He is. Little Dennis knocking the things over, and all you got to do is leave a comment on the video, or you can send an email via the website at sophielawson.com or spiderman.com, and I'll announce the winner on episode 140. All that's left is this week's little inspirational quote, and this quote goes to Spider-Man, which is cool. It says, I like this: "No man can win every battle, but no man should fall without a struggle." Spider-Man, that is. Good old Spider-Man. Our little friendly neighbourhood Spidey. No man can win every battle, but no man should fall without a struggle. Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. That's the end of that, isn't it? That's quite fun now. I enjoyed that. That's quite cool. What's this then? Does my mum look big in this? Does it? Does my mum look big in this? Hello.